Be very wary of writing a business plan that says, I need £1 million of equity to fund working capital, because I think those two phrases, equity and working capital, are not two sides of the same equation. I think you're mixing up two concepts of raising equity and funding working capital. The fundamental distinction in finance is between what I would call expansion capital, for which you need equity, and working capital, which you can borrow to fund. Let me explain that. Working capital is just that, what it says on the tin. Working capital is stocks that you might have in the business if you're a manufacturing business or a distributor, and it's debtors, people who owe you money. Those are your assets, less creditors, less the liabilities, people who you owe money to, such as your suppliers and the taxman. That capital can be funded by borrowing. Historically, one would go along to your bank to get an overdraft. Since 2008, that route has become more problematic. But the good news is there's other sources of finance. Firstly, those very same banks, as well as new challenger banks, provide what's called asset-based finance. So they look at those assets in the business, especially the debtors, and say, that's an asset. We can lend you money against that. And that means your working capital is funded. You can get cash into the business before you get paid to keep your business moving forward. And secondly, there are peer-to-peer lenders. Businesses that have raised money from business people and other investors who will lend that to you, their peer, through a peer funding platform. Businesses such as Funding Circle, whom we helped in the early days, are available online to get applications from you, to run their credit checks and to see if your business is suitable for funding. We've had great success with them as customers, as well as helping them in their own efforts to expand. And businesses have successfully raised funds in a few days of £100,000, and now their limit is up to £500,000. So that is something you can achieve. Interest rates tend to be around 7, 8, 9%. You may think that we're in a low interest rate environment and you ought to be able to borrow at 2, 3 or 4%. Well, that's not the case, I'm afraid. 7 or 8% is a good rate of interest. You should be able to generate profits to pay that interest and repay the funds if your plan to expand is a sensible one. Looking now at equity capital, that's the risky bit. You're going to give a share of your company away to people to share the risks with you of expanding it. You're going to go to new places, you're going to take risks, unlike funding working capital, which isn't that risky. You're going to develop new products, open new branches, maybe even go to new territories. You need somebody to put up an amount of money that they may lose and share in the rewards if you don't. We've never failed to raise funds for people because we know where to go to, and whether it's working capital or equity capital, we have a list of people who we've worked with, who we can introduce you to. Our introduction means that they're willing to listen to you more carefully than if you came to them cold, and our skills in raising funds mean, as I said, we've never failed to raise money for businesses.